All right, welcome everybody to Homecare Owners Corner. Thank you for joining us. Today we are actually going live right now, and we have a very special guest with us, and she's a recurring guest, Jennifer Ramos, and we are going to talk about, um, what makes a successful sale of a business. I mean, this is something that eventually we all have to plan to exit. And one of the most common ways that we all think about is, selling our business. So there's the right way and the wrong way to do it. And because there's, as we've talked about in other episodes with her, there are so many mistakes that people make that ultimately lead to such a low percentage of business owners transitioning out by way of sale. It's an even smaller number if you guys are thinking of leaving it as an inheritance to your kids or building that legacy business that we all dream about. So today, instead of focusing on what not to do, let's talk a little bit about what's going right and how's the right way to do it so that we don't run into these problems. Welcome, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us again.
Oh, thanks, Julio, for having
Always.
me again.
Mhm. Yeah, it's always definitely always a pleasure to have you. All
Thank
right. So here we are.
Well, I love being on here with you because you're so easy to talk to. I love the whole back and forth, so I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, we love to have we love to have people that, are going to bring value to those in the channel and, that basically have a good understanding, not just of business in general, but specifically the home care industry. This is something that over the years we've seen so much go right, so much go wrong.
hmm
And it's just one of those things that I'm very glad to have, experts like you that can join us, especially when you guys come on regularly.
Yeah,
And
I love
don't
it.
mind me
I love
if I seem distracted. I'm
it. No,
actually just
you're
trying to
good.
post the live video right now with
No,
all
it's
this.
good. And I actually love this topic because you and I both kind of very directly. This is also what I appreciate about you is you're very direct and you're very straightforward. And so I like that type of coaching that you offer to your clients. And I like that type of dialogue you and I have together. So I appreciate it. But I do love this topic of the right things to do and successful transactions. And I think this came about the last time we were talking because in my head, I had just closed one that was really, really beautifully done. And it was all because the seller just was on point with a lot of key points that I wanted to kind of touch on today. So that way,
Mhm.
business owners out there, when they're ready to sell, they kind of know how to help themselves, right? It's like help.
Right.
I would tell sometimes I tell my sellers, help me help you. So
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit today. Um, but yeah, a successful sale and there's a lot involved in that, as you know. So, it's kind of the typical stuff we always banter about and talk about, and we can go in depth about another time, but it's basically the financials. You want clean books, you want your company culture strong, you want diverse revenue streams, you want your cash flow strong, you want your books clean, you want your referrals to consistently be giving you business, you want to survey your clients, you want to survey your employees, like all of the above, right? All those
Right.
value drivers. Now, let's say you're hitting on all those points and it's super awesome and you're very happy with your business and you're thinking, okay, now is the time where I want to entertain selling my company.
Hmm.
You get a valuation done, the valuation comes in, best case scenario, it's for a range of value that you are happy about and that you can live with. You engage a broker that does this valuation for you and you say, okay, broker, I am ready to list my business for X amount of dollars that you say my business is valued at today. Let's go ahead and put it on the market. Now,
Right.
put it on the market. A lot of things happen from the time you put it on the market until the time you get to the closing table with a buyer. Like there's just a lot of steps, right?
Right.
So just to set the scene, usually it'll take a broker up to 30 days to get it from the time you say, yeah, let's go, it's game
Hmm.
time, to get it up to the market and get it a package on your business presentable to the marketplace. Okay.
Okay.
They're going to market it to websites. They're going to market it to contacts. Go ahead. Do you have
Okay.
a question?
Yeah. I was gonna say, is it similar to the process of selling a house? Just so that people that are watching that may not understand, put into a little bit of context.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to say that it is. I mean, the idea from a high level, yeah, there's a lot of more detail to it. It takes a lot
Of
longer.
course. Hmm.
But it is the same kind of concept. You know, when
Hmm.
you go to sell your house, sometimes realtors will come in and want to stage your house and make it look
Right.
beautiful and tell you to take down the clutter and kind of clean up your house, right? So
Right.
same thing with your business. I'll do the same thing. Like I'll tell, I'll let the sellers know that maybe it's not quite right now. I need you to tweak this, and this, and this to make it presentable and to make it, attractive to a buyer. And so I kind of do the same with them, like cleaning up your books. Like if I'm doing a broker of opinion of value is what we call it,
Right.
and the book's messy, I'll say, have your CPA or you clean up here, 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 and we get it buttoned up and packaged and ready to go.
Right.
So it's similar.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, that makes a little bit of sense then. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know that people always say, I mean, we've talked about this before. Oh, I want $1 million for my business, and they don't know, they don't really know where to begin with the process.
Yeah.
So it's definitely good to know that
Yeah.
some of the housekeeping stuff is similar.
Yeah. It is. It's the same concept. So, let's say, so by the time you engage a broker to get it listed, you get the broker of opinion of value,
Hmm.
um, and you conclude on a price that you want to list it for and market it for. It's about 30 days before it's ready to go up to the market. So let's say you get to that point of getting to the market. The biggest hurdle, I think, for brokers like
Hmm.
me is getting the sellers to move fast enough, because
Okay.
one of the things you can do to make the whole process successful for yourself is
Right.
be very proactive with your broker. And so if the broker is asking you for, certain items about your business or a questionnaire, let's say, about your business so that they can develop a marketing packet, try to get it back to them within a few days if you can.
Right.
Because everybody's busy, and we understand that you're busy too as a seller, but time is of an essence when you're in this kind of engagement, when you're ready to sell. And the reason why is
Hmm.
because, you know, um, it's a long process. And so once you get it up to market, we as the brokers are vetting a bunch of different prospects for you, tons and tons and tons of them, and 90% of them are tire kickers. They're just
Right.
buyers that are just kind of interested in what the listing is, but not really, and just kind of like a lot of time wasters, right?
Right.
So we want to get it to the market as quickly as possible and kind of start filtering out all of these prospects that aren't serious to find the
Hmm.
ones that are really serious. So time
Right.
is of an essence.
Right.
So yeah, so if the owner can be very responsive to the broker, that would be amazing. Um, Now, that doesn't change. And so you always, through the entire process of selling the business and working with your broker, you do want to be very communicative with them. If there's changes in your operations of any kind, if you fire somebody, if you hire somebody, if you want to change your rates, midstream of having the business listed, like those are kind of material things that you want to communicate to your broker and not leave your broker in the dark for. Okay.
Right.
Um, if the broker is very proactive, they should be asking. They'll be asking those questions. And so some
Right.
aren't and some are. So I'm going to speak on my perspective because I'm very, very proactive with my listings and with my sellers. And I will ask those questions pretty often if I think that they're making changes in any way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
But you always want to be communicative with your broker, and that makes for a successful sale ultimately at the end.
Right. Mhm.
Okay. Um, Now, one of them that comes to mind, and the reason why I kind of triggered to want to talk about this is because I just had a closed deal not too long ago,
Hmm.
and it was beautifully orchestrated. And it was interesting because the sellers were partners,
Oh,
which
okay.
to have a transaction successfully close with a partnership, it's not
Yeah.
unheard of, but it's sometimes there's a lot of bumps in the road because
Right. I
sometimes the
would
partner,
imagine. Hmm.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you and I talked about partnerships and how
Yeah.
difficult they can, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So now imagine selling the business in a
Right.
partnership. You know, you both have to be on the same page. So the reason why this one was so amazing was because both of the partners agreed that one of the partners would be the lead point for the broker, which was me. And so
Ah,
I
that's
was
great.
mostly, it was because then I was getting straight communication from one of them, not two of them. So they
Right.
couldn't talk over or step over each other. It was one of them. And then that one would go to the other, get whatever information I needed, and then come back to me. And then it would be funneled to me. Now, there were times I talked to the other partner, but for the most part, one of them was my point person. And
Right.
that helped a great deal, like just a great deal. So if you're in that situation of a partnership and you're selling your business, I would suggest you appoint one person to be the lead communicator to the broker for
Right.
any and all dealings. Any questions about that?
Not, I mean, oh, that's actually a topic I think we should probably touch on. Maybe next week would be great for that, because just in
Partnership.
general, partnerships are so messy.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
yeah, and it's you know, and you're absolutely right, because even from a consultative point of view, like, let's not even talk about the sale or the startup. One of the big things that I always run into with partnerships is either both of them need to be on at the same time when I'm talking to them, or they need to figure it out during their agreement process who's going to be making the decisions. And that's really a pet peeve, and how I've seen partnerships fail. So that you're very fortunate that they already had their head in the game right from the
Yeah,
beginning.
right. And to your point about that, the cool thing is about these two owners was that they totally respected each other's strengths and understood each other's weaknesses, which is why I think they had such a desirable business
Oh, good.
operationally. I mean, their
Right.
business was really strong, but I think it's because these two partners really understood and played on each other's strengths. And so during the sale process, they still maintained that. You know what I mean? So like
Right.
if the one partner that I was communicating with couldn't answer a question, she said she would tell me, Jen, let me get back to my partner and I'll get back to you with a solid answer because I don't have the answer to that. She wouldn't
Right.
try to answer the question. She wouldn't try to take over. She would defer it to her partner, but then she came back to me with the answer. And it was just
Good.
very fluid. Do you know what I mean with the communication? So what I would suggest at any partnerships out there that are selling, just really sit down with each other and
Hmm.
really decide who is going to take the lead point on this and how you're going to work out the details as you guys flow.
Right.
Because especially when the broker brings a buyer or buyers to the table for you.
Hmm.
So even during that process, I was bringing buyers to both of them, right? Not just to one of
Right.
them, both of them. And even in that meeting, we would have these meetings, and that same point person that I was the point with would be the one to lead that meeting and then would defer to her partner for questions from the buyer. So it was the
Right.
same kind of dynamic, the same kind of respect. Um, and the buyer felt comfortable because the buyer wasn't hearing two different partners debating on something.
Right.
They already knew what they were doing and it was very fluid. Does
Oh,
that make
good.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that absolutely does. I mean, I would imagine that a big part of that is that either, I would imagine again, either early on in the conversations with you or before they even contacted you, they had to know what their expectations were and have realistic expectations of what to expect out of the sale.
Right. Yeah, they did. So they really strategized, and you can respect the idea of
Yeah,
strategy because if you don't have a strategy with whatever it is you're doing, you're kind of dead in the water and you're floundering,
absolutely. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, you're better off just selling off your client list and packing it up and going home if you're just doing things blindly.
Right. Yeah. So they were
Yeah,
prepared. And the good thing was is I kind of prepared them too, but they already kind of had this dynamic within them already, which I
right.
loved. The other thing I will advise, whether you're in a partnership or not, is time is of an essence and time kills deals. I just
Right.
want everybody to know that, because when you have a buyer that's engaged and interested in your business and asking questions and asking for, they submit a letter of intent, which means that they are interested in your business and truly want to dig deeper and look under the
Right.
hood. If they're asking for certain items or documents or anything like that, when it's time to show them those things, don't make them wait weeks and weeks and weeks. Nobody
Right.
wants to wait weeks and weeks and weeks. You know why? Because then they get bored of
Oh,
they get bored of you and they
I
will
would
move on.
imagine more suspicion comes into play because I know that would be my issue.
Suspicion,
Yeah.
yes, that's a good point. Suspicion or
Yeah.
bored. You're because then they're thinking, what are
Hmm.
you doing? Like, why can't you just produce
Yep.
this right away?
What are you hiding?
What are you
Yep.
hiding? So
Yep.
you got to make sure you're prepared with your documents and also very responsive to the buyer.
Hmm.
Um, Time kills deals, and that's the biggest thing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I know on a couple of deals that I've seen from the periphery, yeah, I've seen owners many times just take too long to arrange for an on-site. Like I've seen buyers want to come to the office to see what's really going on, or they request bank statements, or they request tax information so they can kind of compare and see what the
Right,
books really look like. And
right,
people take so long that they just leave and go by the other agency down the street.
right. It's true because there's a lot out there in the pool of opportunities.
Yep.
So if you're not engaging them and hooking them right away and keeping them engaged, it's a problem.
Hmm. Right.
And also, if you have a broker who's not doing that, that's a problem. If
Right.
your broker's MIA on you and not communicative with you, chances are that's the wrong broker to represent you and your business out there in the
Hmm.
marketplace. Because if your broker's not proactive and Johnny on the spot, then you're kind of dead in the water because that's what the buyers expect.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, you know, uh, a lot of your process from our conversations in the past and even now, it's very consultative. So it's the equivalent of having a broker that's absent is like hiring a consultant that is overbooked and doesn't have time to talk to you. You're just
totally.
throwing away your time and money and effort.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, you guys, the facts are too, it's on average, it takes about 12 months to sell a business.
Right.
You know, if you're lucky, 8 to 12 months. But truly, from start to finish, after vetting all of these possibilities in terms of buyers, and after really getting them through, and then you guys getting to the closing table, it's really like within 12 months is a success. Sometimes
Right.
it's longer. Sometimes it's like a year and a half from the time
Right.
you put up your business. So it's a long, long process.
Right. Oh,
Um,
absolutely. And that's not even counting the prep work to get your business sale ready.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
So
And
there's a lot
and
of it.
and so now just to touch on a little bit on something you mentioned earlier, you said what about, like if you're going to raise prices or hire and fire staff? This is a year-long process,
Yeah.
sometimes longer.
Hmm.
You're going to lose staff. You're going to
Hmm.
have to raise prices. You have to accommodate for market conditions.
Hmm.
So what's the impact of that? I mean, and especially if you want to continue like what we're talking about today, how do you do that while having a successful business sale?
So you can still make those business decisions. And so you do want to make your business decisions. And I want you to operate, I want you to think of when you're in that position of selling and you're in the momentum of selling your business, you are still operating your business. You should be
Right,
operating it honestly to the best of your ability that you ever have,
right,
honestly. And you should be selling it at its peak when it's been doing the best it's been for the years that you've had it. So you don't take your foot off the gas at all.
right,
So making business decisions like hiring people, letting people go, increasing wages, increasing rates has to happen if it's time to happen and it makes sense to happen. But you got to
absolutely.
communicate it with your broker. And the
Okay,
reason why is because your broker is also developing and crafting a story on your business. And so um, when we're prospecting buyers, and when they're asking us, oh, where are they at with the business now? The broker can articulate this is what the business is doing right now. This is what the sellers are doing because their margin is this, and they're knowing, they see that, they can increase their rate. It's January, it's time. That's what they're doing. So their margin
Right.
is now could be this in the future. So it's just understanding that there's a story that goes along with the sale of your business. I'm
Right.
telling you, it's a big thing. And if you can do that, it's going to make for successful
Okay.
situation. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
mhm.
oh, go ahead.
So now, oh yeah, I was gonna ask I don't know how at liberty you are to discuss some of the details of the sale, without mentioning company names, obviously. So
Mhm,
just so that people have an idea, how long
mhm.
did the actual sales process take
For this
for
one
this one?
that I'm
Yeah, for
talking
this
about.
one.
So
Yes.
this one took 7 months
All right. Because
from the
everything
time
went smoothly.
because everything went smoothly.
Okay.
We went through
And
about 7 buyers,
okay.
prospects, until the sellers decided that they really like this one.
Right.
They really like this one. And the thing is, you guys have to understand, you're in the driver's seat of who's going to acquire your business. You don't
Right.
have to take every offer that comes if you're in a position to not take every offer that comes, right? So
Right.
if you can leave the table, that's the best position you can be in. And that's what these two partners were doing. They didn't have to
Right.
take every offer that came. They wanted the right buyer with the right offer. And they were in
Got
a
it.
position to do that.
Right.
So
And I would imagine that considerations about management style and the care for their clients, all of that came into play.
all of it.
Now, to dive a little bit deeper from like something that I would look at, was it a private pay versus a Medicaid agency?
It was private pay, 100% private pay.
Okay. And what was their top line revenue? Again, if you're not comfortable discussing any of it, just by all
No, I
means.
can because there's no
Yeah.
identifying factors here, but it was
Right.
3 million top line. So it's a
Okay.
smaller
And what did they actually end up selling it for? Like close, roundabout, under, over, something like that.
Yeah, they were at like 50% of their top line.
Okay, so that all of that comes into play. The reason I'm bringing it up is because there's a lot of people that are going to watch this that really they're thinking about selling their business, but they have no idea what the realistic expectations are. And this
Yeah.
is something that we talked about already a number of times, you know, offline and online and in different summits and stuff like that. But we don't ever talk about hard numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and people need to know that if all the stars align, 50% is pretty pretty great. I mean that's a great offer that you got them. But it's like you said, everything was done. There was timely communication. People were on board. There was no, everybody was fast moving and there was no sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
They sold because they wanted to sell, not because bankruptcy, divorce, lawsuit, none of this stuff in place. And
Yeah.
that's how you have to set yourself up with a realistic expectation to have, an amazing sales process. And it doesn't help, it doesn't hurt at all that they had you on board with them to be able to walk them through the right way. That
Yeah.
so fantastic. That
Uh,
congratulations on that. And if the people
yeah,
that have sold the business are watching it, congratulations to you guys too.
it's just really helpful because I mean, they just really did things the right way. And I think I love the fact that they waited for the right buyer and they
Yeah.
really cared about him and he
Okay.
really cared about them. Like it was more than just a transaction. And because it was a smaller boutique business,
Right.
agency. And it was like they were very intimate and and it was a startup from the ground up. It wasn't a franchise. And
Right.
so they really, really cared about their their home care. And
Right.
so it was, you know what I mean? So it was just more of an intimate kind of a transaction. But the big thing was the communication back and forth was amazing. It was
Good.
just amazing. Yeah.
That's really good. And I'm sure everybody walked away happy with the price they got it for, with the
Mhm.
revenue. And if they're doing 3 million, that's not a small agency. It's not a big one either, but it's a nice,
Right.
comfortable size,
Mhm.
that definitely has plenty of room to grow wherever they
Yeah,
are.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
exactly.
Fantastic.
So it was a good
Fantastic.
success story. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I was happy about it.
absolutely. Absolutely. That, I mean, you know, the so let's take a look at this now from, you know, top line perspective of people that are going to be watching this that are
Mhm,
possibly thinking about selling their business. Number
mhm.
one, my personal first advice, call Jennifer. Okay, definitely. You want somebody who knows not just what they're doing about selling a business, but it helps tremendously if they actually understand your industry. Okay. It's no different than, I think, if, and this may be a bad comparison, but actually selling a house. When I sold my house, I wasn't going to bring in somebody that's an expert at selling corporate properties to sell my personal home. I'm not going to bring somebody in that sells $10 million properties to sell my modest home. It's just one of those things. Kind of want to stay in your lane a little bit, make sure that the people really know you, really know what you're trying to go.
Mhm.
And now it's time because we only have a couple of minutes left on this live session. And thank you all for those of you that are watching. Don't forget to like and share this with anyone that you think could benefit from it, and leave us a comment below. Let us know where you're watching from. And you know, are you thinking about exit planning? And if you're not, I don't care if you haven't even opened yet, you should be. So leave us a comment and let us know your thoughts on all of this. But now it's time to put you on the spot. You got 3 minutes. Give us your top three tips to have a repeat of what you just went through with these very fortunate clients of yours.
Oh, okay. So definitely be prepared to have a point person if you're in a partnership when you sell your business. Okay. And if it's
Hmm.
just you, that's fine. But if you're in a partnership, just have one point person and to communicate with your broker. That's helpful. Time is of the essence and time kills deals. So if your broker's asking for bits of information from you, just get back to your broker right away. Time is of an essence, especially when you have a buyer on the hook and the buyer is
Hmm.
very engaged and interested in your business. You do not want the buyer to wait. Okay. So
Right.
when they're asking for information, have it ready to go. Um, and then number three, the entire time of the process of your sale, do not get Friday-itis. Do not get lazy
Okay.
with your business. Don't take your foot off the gas. Even even in escrow, even when you're in escrow with a buyer, deals blow up at any point. Okay.
Yes.
And so until that document is signed at the end of the day on that closing table, and until your money is in
Hmm.
your hand, you are driving your business really hard as if you were a startup. Like it just
Yes.
cannot go backwards. So keep your foot on the gas. Those are my main three big points of a successful kind of transaction.
That is actually a great point because I have a friend who is selling his auto body business
Mm-hmm.
in the Northeast. Won't go specifics on it, but
Okay.
that specific thing about deal blowing up at the last minute, that happened to him about 2 weeks ago. Literally 2 days before the closing, there was an issue in the shop with one of the other mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
and the buyer said no way and walked away.
Yep. It's a
Because
bummer.
yep,
It is
yep,
because you get tired. If there's
yeah,
fatigue, there's certain thing as buyer's fatigue and seller's fatigue because the
right,
process is so challenging. I mean, there's
right,
just a lot to that process.
right.
So, so don't get married emotionally to it.
Hmm.
Don't get emotional about it. It's kind of like
Right,
your analogy with buying a house. Like, don't get tied
yeah,
emotionally to the house or letting
yep,
your house go because you don't know what can happen at the end of the day. So, just go
hmm,
through the motions, keep your eye on the ball with your business, and just know it's not done until check is in hand. That's
right. Fantastic. So great having you on. Great advice as always. And join us next week. Same time. Right around 2 p.m. ish Eastern time. What is it? 11 a.m. Pacific.
Yep.
And join us as we talk with Jennifer some more. And next week, I think it's a good idea if we do take a deep dive into partnerships, pros, cons, when it comes to selling or buying a business. And I'll talk a little bit about it as to what are the elements of a good partnership agreement. Okay.
Ooh, I love
All
that.
right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us. And once again, don't forget to subscribe and like the video and share this as far as possible.